Okay, so when you think of King Henry VIII, you probably get this image of a larger-than-life monarch, right? A powerful, imposing guy, famous for his massive ego, his break with the Catholic Church, and of course, his 6 wives. But what if the most dramatic part of his story is one we've never been told?
I mean, seriously, what if, hidden away in the shadows of one of the most famous reigns in all of history, there was another royal child, a daughter, who was deliberately and completely scrubbed from the history books? It's a wild thought. And today, that's exactly what we're going to explore.
We are diving deep into this pretty fascinating theory of the Phantom Princess. The whole idea is that a daughter of Henry VIII was born and then just vanished from the record, almost like she never existed in the first place.
Look, the official story is already packed with drama. Henry's entire reign, pretty much everything he did, was driven by this obsession with securing the Tudor dynasty. The man literally tore his country apart, changed the course of religion, and went through queen after queen, all for one single reason: he needed a son.
So, to even begin to understand why a king might erase his own child from history, you have to get a sense of the sheer, crushing pressure he was under. We're talking about the stability of the entire kingdom resting on his shoulders and his ability to produce a male heir. And this right here shows you that desperation perfectly. Just look at this timeline of his marriages. This is not a story about romance. Not at all. It is a frantic 34-year saga driven by this one single obsession: divorce, execution, remarriage, whatever it took to continue his line.
And here's where it gets really interesting: the huge gap between what he wanted and what he actually got. He desperately needed a strong, legitimate son to prevent another bloody civil war, like the Wars of the Roses. But what did he get? A super fragile political situation. 2 daughters, both of whom were declared illegitimate at one point or another, and one son, Edward, who was really frail from the day he was born. So here's the real question. In a situation like that, would another daughter have been seen as a blessing, or just one more political problem that needed to be, well, removed?
So where's the proof, right? Well, according to the people who believe this story, you can't just go looking in the official records. That's the whole point. They say you have to become a kind of detective, hunting for clues in the whispers, the rumors, and all the little cryptic notes scribbled in the margins of court life.
Take this, for example. It's an entry from an anonymous courtier's journal. Now, on its own, it just sounds like some beautiful, sad poetry. But what if you read it in the context of a court that was absolutely obsessed with heirs? Could the son be the king? Or maybe his long-awaited son? And could that lesser star be a child that was considered inconvenient?
And this is the biggest challenge with this whole theory, isn't it? Trying to separate poetry from actual proof. Was this just some courtier being dramatic, or was it a breadcrumb, a tiny clue pointing to a deliberately hidden truth? Let's dig a little deeper into the case file. Okay, so let's assemble all the circumstantial evidence. Think of this like we're opening up a cold case file for our Phantom Princess. There's no single smoking gun, but there are a bunch of intriguing little pieces that, when you put them all together, they start to paint a pretty interesting picture. All right, let's look at the file. First, you've got these persistent rumors at court about a secret pregnancy, probably involving a lady-in-waiting. Then, you find treasury records that show these really large anonymous payments going to one specific convent. Was that hush money? Or maybe support for a hidden child? Then there's this minor noble family that suddenly gets a bunch of land and titles for no obvious reason. Were they hired as guardians? And finally, you have these cryptic letters between foreign ambassadors mentioning some mysterious royal ward that was being kept out of sight. Now, as juicy as all of that is, we have to be honest here. We have to weigh this whole web of circumstantial clues against the hard, cold silence of the official historical record. This table really sums it all up, doesn't it? On one side, you have all those intriguing clues, the rumors, the payments, the clear motive. But on the other side, the case against it is pretty strong. There are 0 official birth records, nothing. Those payments could have been for anything: spies, political favors, who knows? The entire theory really just hangs on interpretation. And because of that, most mainstream historians just dismiss it as compelling folklore, but nothing more.
And that really is the heart of it. Without a body, a bone, a single definitive document, without that concrete proof, this story, no matter how much we might want to believe it, just can't move from being speculation into being fact. The princess remains a ghost, just haunting the edges of a very famous story.
But it does leave us with one last pretty powerful thought. We all know that history is written by the victors, by the people in power. And back then, no one was more powerful than the king. So it really makes you wonder, if he had a secret that was big enough, could he have just torn that chapter right out of the book? And what other stories, what other lives might be lost to us forever?